Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I was gonna chronologically pick my way through the post-MP10 Masterpiece Transformers world leading up to its most recent releases. But then I thought that MP-28 Hot Rodimus would be worth covering on its own first, since it's a sequel piece to a previous Masterpiece set I've reviewed, and is also the handiwork of a hodgepodge of designers, which thus does not really fit into the tapestry of design identity eras. Those are all great reasons to explain why I'm making this video right now, but the main one is that I'm also suddenly and imminently doing a piece about Toy Hacks' new repro label set for this toy. What's a schedule? A thing I keep dropping down very long staircases. Masterpiece Hot Rod's 80s futuristic car mode was styled by designer Yuya Onishi, whose work on toys like Generations Brainstorm probably helped in rendering that crazy burgundy space wedge on wheels, while the whole project was headlined by Miyake Tomoya, creator of the C-Clip weapon system way back in 2009. Between those two guys and the edits made by Hironori Kobayashi, we've got something that looks a lot less ovalish and blobby than MP-09's alt mode, but still isn't quite as sharp in its angles and curvature as some iconic 86 movie shots. But oh, from the right angles, it comes real darn close. The colors look spot on for the most part, though this toy suffers from two strips of hue mismatched plastic just behind each front wheel, which feels particularly painful on a Masterpiece release. The hood deco and big badass spoiler are sharp, if a little dull in color due to the flat cartoony finish, and the awesome clear canopy could have used slightly thicker burgundy lining along its top ridges. Those bits are just thin enough to be hard to see at a glance sometimes. There is copious chrome in all the right spots, bringing reflective light to the engine block and side-mounted exhaust piping. Mine still looks alright, but I've heard some real sad one-off stories about chrome flaking soon after opening the box, or even outright fading off. Hot Rod also has a bit of trouble rolling well, as his wheels are both incredibly small and completely smooth. I feel like they come off a little undersized, but damn, does this car have a slim and sleek profile. I have no idea how I feel about its appearance next to the Autobot cars that it's meant to scale to, since they're real cars and, well, this is a kooky space car. But that also means he doesn't look immediately dumb when you plug his guns onto his roof. This uses the spring-loaded square peg-hole panels seen on many post-MP10 car robots. If you want, you can make like a Target Master and flip the engine block up to pop a gun into place on the hood. This looks terrible, just like on the G1 toy. Sadly, the Hasbro Masterpiece Target Master that came with domestic Rodimus way back can't fit in there. You can balance in there, but don't touch him. By the way, you can open up the hood and stick MP10's Matrix of Leadership in there, as an engine, I guess. I'm not sure if anybody is actually excited about this kind of feature anymore in 2016. Even though I liked MP-09 more than most and still don't hate transforming it to this day, that process is a boogeyman among Transformers collectors, and MP-28's new take on getting Hot Rod into robot mode feels like a retort to every harrowing and finicky moment of that 2010 conversion. There are many distinct notes of the G1 Hot Rod toy transformation at play here, at least up until you fold a huge amount of the alt mode up into a backpack. This is some hardcore compression and panel play, but almost like a loud response to every complaint about MP-09, there are satisfying tab slot locks at just about every major turn. Like, these tolerances and measurements are a tactile delight, making the transformation something I truly enjoy doing in both directions. The legs follow up on the joy of the backpack transformation with a bit of a soft whiffle, basically mimicking one of the textbook Combiner Wars Deluxe layouts with the upper legs double hinging out of the lower legs. There are still some great little tab slot locks at work though, along with shin doors to avoid hollow spaces. The hands flip out, as you do, and this Rod's a robot. And I wish the head reveal happened right now, rather than way back at the beginning of the process. For a guy that looked legitimately god-awful in nearly all of his promo photography, MP-28 has a pretty fine robot mode silhouette. It's still one of those strangely unphotogenic deals that looks better in person when you can turn the toy over in your hands, but he's a totally serviceable and slim young cavalier. Really, there are only three major faults. His thighs? They're kinda thin. His chest? It really needed at least one more angle of folded definition, because right now it has that untucked shirt sort of look going on. And his backpack? The sticky outiness I can deal with, but I really wish the stuff jutting out of the top had folded down to smooth that surface and clean up the overall look. And it would have been nice if his rear fin could have integrated more into the backpack rather than stick off of its rearmost surface. But Hot Rod's got some respectable proportions to his skeleton, especially at a 3/4 viewing angle, and the colors are strong, though still pretty simple and cartoony. Those screw holes in his wrists are a big bad bummer, but the orange and yellow around them put up a strong fight to still look dynamic and lively. I'm really into the head sculpt, though I could have done with it being a tad larger. The eyes being a nice and painted blue is a huge boon. Sadly, there's a paint chip on his lower lip that just kind of appeared after a few hours while he was standing on my desk in robot mode. Very weird. Alongside other Masterpiece Autobots, Hot Rod's a bit taller than many of the car robots and notably shorter than Optimus Prime. It feels kinda right, I guess, but given his teeny alt mode wheels, I wonder how he'd look if he were another head taller. There's a cool Easter egg in this guy's arms, wherein he can flip the shoulders around to bear closer resemblance to the G1 toy, complete with sculpted surface detail. You can also flip either of his hands back inside and attach a big Fishborg filleting saw blade, which spins happily and looks way more impressive than MP-29's semi-built-in deal. Hot Rod's also got integrated sunglasses, which are on a scary tight joint that stresses me out with every deployment. And sadly, they're such a light shade of blue, I feel they are only a detriment to his overall look. I wish they were a lot darker, or maybe even slightly reflective. The opening hood still works here, revealing the Rodimus matrix chamber in his belly. Guys, let's be real, this looks weak, and it's probably the reason why his chest is shaped like a big flat plank, rather than a defined robotic torso. I'd rather have seen this feature left out entirely. The rod includes 2 unique photon lasers whose palm slot connections feel like an apology for the debacle of MP-09's brutally embarrassing inability to hold his own weapons. There's one more accessory for the young Autobot Cavalier, and it's secretly his best one. He comes with a sizable fishing pole, and he looks awesome with it. Like, it is made for action robot fishing photo shoots. Just a joy! Sadly, he has no storage for any of these accessories when they aren't in use in robot mode, though you can kind of hang his firearms off of his backpack if you're careful. The rod head swivels left and right, and then has a dedicated hinge to go up and down. It's not a ball joint, it's a swivel and a hinge, so you get no tilt and no oval-like ballular motion. His shoulders can go forwards and backwards all happily. Thanks to this thing, they can go outwards a lot, and inwards just a little bit. They can also go outwards like this on a dedicated hinge, and if you move things around and get it to go outwards even more, a little bit limited due to the thingamadoos up here. However, if you untab the shoulders here, not only do you get this extra range of motion, but you also can then get them out more fully. You just are untabbing things, and you might not be comfortable with that. This guy's joint tolerances in those shoulder hinge bits generally plays nice with it, I've found, but I just use it now and then for certain poses. There's also a dedicated bicep swivel. There is a double hinged elbow. Did not need to be double hinged, which makes me real happy to see a double hinge, because, yo, I like double hinges. And then he's got a wrist, and he's got, due to his transformation, a touch of wiggle, like thus, and his fingers can do that masterpiece thing where they open. They look okay when they're open. His fingers still look real weird because they're Hot Rod's fingers, but definitely are better hands than on MP-09. There is a big waist joint, and I think it's quite expressive on this guy, although you can only use it a little bit because the more you use it, the more you start to expose some of the weaker parts of his backpack. It looks better in certain perspectives than others. He's also got this ab joint. This is weird. This is not for transformation, but it's just like one pinned friction hinge, which is not super tight. It's not loose, but it doesn't feel right. This feels like a transformation joint, but it's not. And then by using it, you just unveil all this stuff. I don't know. This plus the untucked shirt look of the big plank of his chest. I'm not into this joint as much as I really should be for a friggin' ab joint on a real Masterpiece toy. It's a bit of a shame. His skirt here can get out of the way, as can these side skirts. And then with those out of the way, you can get his legs kicking forwards, kicking out. He can do basically the full Van Damme. He's the young stud Autobot. Of course he can. He's got thigh swivels. Then he's got double hinged knees. Double hinged elbows and knees on this guy, I find, are a somewhat underrated feature of this toy. I mean, people are talking about them, but I thought, you know, people would be talking about them. I like them a lot. And then he's got some footular tilt, and then some angular tilt. Not as much ankle tilt as perhaps I would have liked, but the upside is this guy poses real well. He just has an awkward body shape. His shoulders are a little wide, his head's a little small, his stomach is a plank, and he's got a big backpack. But when you get him looking right, like he looks right. Or if you're the photographer for his box photography, you try to get him looking right, because you're a weird person who hates this toy, I guess. And, you can make him look real bad, too. It's amazing how quickly you can do this, and how easily you can sort it out. I don't understand the box photography. It's the worst. Nobody should have been paid for that. That's probably the 800th time I've said that, but I stand by it. This still isn't a perfect hot rod. I don't feel it's an impossible thing to pursue, and I can't help but wonder if the 3-designer production process led to some muddled and mixed messages on the end result. But man, if this isn't a fun set to play around with. MP-28 brings the hand feel factor in every way that MP-09 did not. It doesn't hit tactile horizons as hard as Masterpiece Ironhide, but this new Rodimus is incredibly fun to transform back and forth, to the point of that being just about all I did with him for the first few hours of owning the toy. And then came the action robot fishing photo shoot. The robot mode is a little awkward, big backpacked, and skinny, but I've found enough pleasing and satisfying poses to feel like it's worthwhile. In fact, I stand amazed at how terrible most of its promo packaging and instruction photography has been to behold. I really hope nobody was paid for any of that, because it does a ridiculous disservice to a piece that does not deserve that treatment. Did the photographer not see the potential of the fishing pole? Hot Rodimus is a visually weaker modern masterpiece, kinda chillin' out down in Traxville, but he brings some of the newfound hand-feel tactile finger candy factor that his immediate predecessor, Ironhide, had rocketed to the forefront not a month or two earlier. This is a fun toy, well worth the time of any member of Team Rodimus, but perhaps needing some pre-commitment viewing in person if you aren't that big on the way of the rod. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and the next time you see this toy, it'll have some stickers on it. I still want to go back and do a chronological trip through the Hisui car robot masterpiece era at the very least, but I wonder if posting this now has just broken time indefinitely. I guess we'll find out if the sun rises in the morning, or if the groundhog lets Bill Murray go.